Today, living in a building site the insurance customers left behind after devastating floods wrecked their homes.
I don't have anywhere that's safe for my grandchildren to come and visit.
And no exit. The homeowners tied into solar panel contracts that they simply can't escape.
I'll pay for the system outright. I just need you to tell me how much. I'm broken and this is destroying all of us.
You're watching Rip Off Britain.
Hello and welcome to the programme that fights for your rights with companies big and small.
Now, on the programme today, it started with a salesman calling and the offer of a tempting free deal to get solar panels fitted that would save the homeowners money. But I'm afraid it ended up in pain and regret.
You get free electric, save money, save the planet. All the promises here, they seem very good. That's the reason why I said to fit the installation.
Also today, a premium bonds win that can't be cashed in. That's the conundrum for our viewer Sheila in our expert advice clinic.
But first, a surge in distress and inconvenience. That's the damning verdict by Consumer Group, which, after it analysed complaints about insurance companies.
Now, it's a theme that we see time and time again in the Rip Off Britain inbox, that no matter what the rights or wrongs of a case, you know, it's the way that an insurance firm deals with you that can make the whole experience either stress-free or quite the opposite.
That may sound familiar to the people in our first story today. Neighbours Tracy and Richard both had their homes ruined by storms that struck in October 2023 and turned to their insurers to make a claim. But the question is, why, more than a year on, are their claims still ongoing and their houses still in a dreadful mess?
When Storm Babette hit in October 2023, houses in this tiny street in Chesterfield were devastated. But 10 months on, some residents are still living with the total chaos that was unleashed.
Hundreds of people were told to leave their homes overnight as the storm hit.
Residents like Nurse Tracy Wood. She lives in this two-bed terrace. Her home was devastated in a flood caused by the storm. She's moved back in, but 10 months after the storm, she's still living with the shocking damage.
So this was the kitchen. This is what I've now got. Washing machine and working top space. There's no electric in the kitchen as of yet, but I have an extension cable running through. So the boiler works.
On the night of the storm, Tracy was working. She couldn't get back to her home until 3 days later, and her house was wrecked.
So as you were walking, your shoes were getting quite wet. Every level surface had a layer of awful, silty, muddy, and the smell was horrendous.
And tragically, precious belongings had been lost for good.
It was pretty devastating, really. Things like photographs that are irreplaceable. I had a sort of bureau-type desk downstairs, and I realised that there was quite a good selection of photos in there that were destroyed.
Tracy's insurers swung into action, and within 11 weeks, the property had been cleared, dried out with dehumidifiers and heaters, and declared dry. With only cosmetic work left to complete, Tracy eagerly moved back in. But when her insurer sent someone to price up the rest of the job, she was shocked by his verdict.
On the 30th of January, a contractor came to have a look, and he walked in and he said immediately, "I don't know why they've asked me to come today because this property is still damp."
Tracy's hopes had been dashed. She was told that the plaster on the walls should have been removed, and until that was done, they just couldn't move forward. But there was a question over whether the damp was caused by the flood or underlying problems with her property. And Tracy says that that led to long delays.
I was promised this has been escalated to our managers. You will get a call back, and nobody would ring me back. I was in tears on the phone, explaining to them the house is damp, why can't this work be done? It was quite frustrating and very, very emotionally wearing. It felt like nobody wanted to help.
The plaster was finally removed in May 2024, 7 months after the flood, setting the repairing of her home back by months. And whilst Tracy appreciates the process was always going to be complicated, she says her insurer's customer service was left wanting.
It's just a soul-destroying process. Any home insurance claim is a horrible thing to happen, but it could be made so less traumatic if the insurers would actually respond and take into account people's emotions and feelings.
The insurer did offer Tracy the option to move out again whilst the repairs continued, but it was more upheaval and Tracy just couldn't face it. And when we visited in August 2024, 10 months after the flood, the work was no further along and the experience had taken its toll.
I love to cook and I love my grandchildren to come and stay with me. And I can't do the things that I enjoy most in my life. I don't have a kitchen. I don't have anywhere that's safe for my grandchildren to come and visit.
While Tracy is trying to make the best of living in her home, 3 doors down is the family home Richard Cox is supposed to be living in.
Hiya.
But instead, they live 16 miles away in temporary accommodation.
That's a bit better.
They've been there so long that 8-year-old son Stefan was forced to move schools.
I miss all my old friends. And since I left, they made a video just for me, and I watched it. I felt heartbroken.
On the day of the flood, they took shelter upstairs. Recalling that day is a really emotional experience for Richard.
The feeling was overwhelming, complete and utter loss. Everything has just been destroyed in front of your eyes. You know, all your hard work, all your things that you'd saved over the years. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, actually heartbreaking. And I thought, how are we going to get through this?
The family moved into temporary accommodation, and Richard's home too was cleared and dried by his insurers. But 5 months later, when a surveyor visited, he said he was then told that the plaster needed to be removed.
And I said, well, we've waited months now, which this could have been done, and now you're telling me that the plaster needs to be removed.
Frustrated by the delay, Richard decided to oversee the plaster removal and repairs himself. But now struggling to find available contractors, the delay to get started is ongoing, and his home remains uninhabitable.
As you can see, the room is totally empty, as it was from last year when it was stripped out. There's no furniture, nothing, just our little camping table. The feeling that you don't know if you're going to move back into your house, it does depress you.
And while Tracy waits for her insurance claim to be resolved, she is living in a single room in her beloved home.
So this is my safe space, or the only space that I've got that I can keep reasonably dust-free. I eat in here, I watch TV.
When we put Richard's case to his insurance company, Aegeus, it said it has funded alternative accommodation since his home was flooded. It also said that now that the home has been certified as dry, it estimates the repairs should take 3 months to complete, and that it's doing everything it can to support this repair work. It went on to say that as Richard chose to manage the repairs himself, it could only agree repair works when all quotes were received. In addition, Aegeus stated it has asked Richard for a complete list of contents that were damaged, but is yet to receive that list, and that its loss adjustment